I'd like to say now a few words about conjunctivitis. First of all, acute conjunctivitis. By acute conjunctivitis, I mean sudden onset of a strong condition. It would normally be characterized as infectious conjunctivitis in Western medicine. Not always. In Chinese medicine, there's two patterns for this. One is wind heat, and the other is uprising of heat. So wind heat would definitely be like infectious conjunctivitis, something which spreads from one person to another. It's characterized by sudden onset and fever and all the other signs of wind heat. Whereas the uprising of heat is more of an internal condition. It perhaps would more be termed as pink eye. The root cause is not so much something coming from outside, but the heat, an internal heat. Where does this internal heat come from? In the past, one of the causes was the heat of springtime, the latent heat seen in springtime. And so it was very common to get conjunctivitis in springtime. This is much less common now because people live in centrally heated houses, and so their body doesn't experience such extremes of temperature. Although winters are still cold and damp in England and cold in most places, that actually the body doesn't have to adapt to this. They don't have to build up this enormous heat generating capability in the winter in order to keep warm. And consequently, when springtime comes, there is not so much heat in the body which needs to find an outlet. Another cause would be overconsumption of rich food. Put it another way, people who've had a heavy night drinking may experience very red eyes the next day. So those are the two main patterns for acute conjunctivitis: the external one, which is characterized by fever, and the internal one, which hasn't got so much fever, but has got heat and red face going with it. The treatment for the external condition of wind heat, it's very simple. Large intestine 4, gallbladder 20, for example, those 2 points may be enough on their own. You may need to do the points every day. You may need to do them more than once. But if it's a straightforward condition of wind heat, 2 or 3 treatments are usually enough to clear the conjunctivitis. As far as the uprising of heat is concerned, there's a range of treatments for this according to the range of severity of the condition. If you've got conjunctivitis or red eyes, red and sore eyes, which are due to mildly overeating or late nights, or maybe you've what in the States is called the red eye special, the flight between Los Angeles and New York, which involves lack of sleep as well as dry air. A point which is very useful for that is Sanjiao 3. Now, the advantage of using Sanjiao 3, possibly with gallbladder 20, the advantage of using this point is it doesn't disturb the qi too much. It just reduces the red eyes without shaking you up too much. Now, liver 2 and liver 3, of course, are key points in clearing internal heat and treating conjunctivitis. But they have quite a strong effect on the energy. So there are times when you don't want to subdue the energy or disperse the energy too much. And so Sanjiao 3, Zhongzhu, is the point to use in this situation. On the other hand, if there is really extreme heat and the people have very significant signs of strong heat rising up, such as red and sore eyes and headaches and red face and rapid pulse and real feelings of discomfort. Then liver 3 is a very good point to use. Liver 3 possibly combined with liver 2 and also combined with large intestine 4, and a point to help the eyes such as gallbladder 20 or possibly stomach 1. So those are typical points which you can use for acute conjunctivitis due to heat rising up. Now when we come to chronic conjunctivitis, there is a full pattern and an empty pattern. The full pattern is normally described as liver and gallbladder heat rising up. It can be subdivided into liver and gallbladder heat and liver and gallbladder damp heat, but from the point of view of acupuncture, the treatment would be very similar. So one doesn't need necessarily to make this fine distinction. So in this full pattern, you have an ongoing situation of this heat rising up. And the treatment, of course, is to clear the heat. And just as with the acute conjunctivitis, liver 3, liver 2 are some of the key points in clearing this liver and gallbladder heat rising up. One can also use gallbladder 37, that's a good point to use. Gallbladder 34 is another good point for clearing damp heat in the gallbladder. I make this sound very simple, and on the whole it is fairly simple, but of course in real life patients are more complicated than that, and you may need to delve a little bit deeper into the causes of this heat or damp heat rising up. What is it that's causing it? Is it mainly food? Do you need to advise them on the food? Do you need to advise them on anger management, for example, because maybe that's the origin of the liver heat rising up? This may be an appropriate point to remind you of the foods which are likely to encourage conjunctivitis, and these are eggs and chicken, which are especially contraindicated in purulent conjunctivitis, and garlic also. Excess consumption of garlic can lead to red eyes. Then, of course, there is the alcohol, which is better known for producing red eyes. Then the deficiency condition, which leads to chronic conjunctivitis, is the pattern of liver and kidney weak. You can see a lot of old people have red eyes, but it can happen in younger people too. I have seen it quite frequently in mothers after childbirth. If the mothers already have 2 or 3 children and have childbirth, they have no opportunity to recover their kidney energy, and they're very prone then to chronic conjunctivitis. What's the treatment here? The treatment is to build up the liver and kidney energy, and my experience has been that quite simple points like bladder 23 and bladder 18, combined possibly with spleen 6 or liver 3, and also combined with gallbladder 20. This combination of points can be repeated again and again on a weekly or twice weekly basis, and will gradually build up the liver and kidney energy, and so gradually cure the chronic conjunctivitis. This is just a brief introduction to the treatment, and this will give you the pointers of what to do.